Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day this video finds you. It's boy Jay here, and I'm coming at you with another Monster Hunter discussion video. And today, I become a real Monster Hunter YouTuber, and I finally talk about underwater in Monster Hunter. Yes, I do think underwater should come back in a future game, even if that means a lot of us will dislike it. Let's dive right in. I know. Why would you want something to come back that you think most of the player base won't like? I don't think you'll like it at the announcement. I think before we get our hands on the game in which underwater is announced to be returning, I think a lot of the community will react very negatively to said announcement, because everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, I hated underwater combat, why is it coming back? No, everybody hated it. No, why, right? I do see that being a topic of conversation. However, I'm here to talk to you about, some of the stuff that has come in recent Monster Hunter that will help underwater combat, right? And the biggest thing that comes to mind is the new armor system, right? Back in the day, when underwater was a thing, Monster Hunter tried. This is Wii U, right? Back in the day, the armor system was totally different. You had to add up a skill to 10 points to even have an effect, right? And that was way more difficult than, the current armor skill, where every armor piece gives you a couple points in a skill and each point does something, right? If you got 9 points in a skill back then, you ain't get none. You didn't get any skill activation. You know what I mean? So with this new armor system, I think it'll be easier to slot in skills that will help you deal with underwater combat. Think current resistance, think Olympic swimmer, think evade extender, right? I mean, hell, in Rise and Sunbreak, modern evade extender is crazy. I like to joke that it's the fourth Hokage jutsu, you know what I'm saying? Because basically evade extender in Sunbreak max, bro, it's like a teleport every time you hit the roll button, you know what I mean? So imagine with how easy it is to get evade extender, imagine how much help that will be in underwater combat to have a further evade, or to have Olympic swimmer on top of current resistance, right? So all of these things can kind of coalesce into an underwater armor set that you can swap out at any time, right? That's another thing that modern Monster Hunter has that back then we didn't have. You can swap your armor out on the fly. So you can have a quest, hypothetically speaking, hunt a Rathalos and hunt a Lagiacruz, right? You put on your regular set and you go hunt the Rathalos. After that hunt is done, you teleport back to camp, because, well, we could do that now. Don't even need a Farcaster to do it. Teleport back to camp. Switch to your underwater armor set, right, that you've specifically created for, underwater combat. Switch to it and go jump in and go swim. Easy. No big deal, right? Not like how it was in the past, where you had to prepare a little bit more, and the armor that you wore was the armor that you wore for the whole quest, and you just had to deal with it. No, you can switch weapons and armor out on the fly. So you can have an on land main and an underwater main if you want. And easily you can change your play style up to suit the needs of the hunt at hand. Boom. Way easier than it has been in the past. So it will be way easier to bring all the skills you'll need to help become more mobile underwater, and become more evasive underwater, so you get hit by less monster attacks, and so that you feel good swimming underwater. You'll be faster, right? Another thing about handling the underwater and managing a three-dimensional space is control. And I mean, like, in real life, right? Monster Hunter 3U came out on the Wii U, a console that barely scratched 13 million units, right? However, the 3DS, massively popular, right? So I'd wager a guess that a lot of people that have gripes with the controls of underwater hunting struggled through it on a 3DS, right? Now, I had both the 3DS copy and the 3U copy of Monster Hunter 3U, right? And I would bounce my saves back between them depending on what kind of play I needed. However, I will tell you, On a Wii U, it's way better than on 3DS, okay? And like the Wii U Pro controller, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but it is the most like the current controllers that we have today, right? And those controllers have more inputs, they feel better in the hand, and I think we will have a way better time controlling ourselves underwater, on top of, you know, bringing all of the skills we need to the hunt to feel agile under the water, so that, you know, the hunter to monster ratio is a little bit better when it comes to who's in a more advantageous position, right? So yeah, the 3DS controls just ain't it, and I'd wager a guess that most of us that have our gripes with underwater combat played this on a 3DS, and oof, trust me, I get it. Your concerns are justified, and your gripes are justified. Try it with an actual controller, and I bet you'd feel, okay, this isn't like on land. It's a different experience, of course, which is, you know, what the goal is. It's supposed to be a different experience, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. And I think that is largely due to the 3DS and the way it was set up, you know what I mean? So that is also another thing to consider, right? We're going to get this game on modern hardware with modern controllers with way more inputs, so that, you know, it gives us a chance to be a bit more agile underwater and maybe manage the camera a little bit better, or maybe we'll have a couple buttons that are specifically delegated to maybe up and down movement, right, as we are moving around in this three-dimensional space that is an underwater hunt. The last thing I want to talk about before I head out is actually a topic that comes up whenever underwater is brought up, and it's actually not in favor of underwater making a return, but I want to address it, and I don't want to say debunk it. It's actually something I kind of agree with, but I think Capcom can overcome it. So let me set this up for you properly. Monster Hunter Tri is the game that brought underwater combat to the series, right? It's also the same game that cut almost half of the weapons from the previous game, right? Had weapons cut from the game. Like, weapons that were in the previous game just didn't come. Like half of the weapon roster. Crazy, right? Also, this is the same game that has the least amount of large monsters, right? Has the least amount of hunts in the game, period. Do I think this is a coincidence? No. Game development is hard. Point blank, period. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no getting around it. Game development is hard. So I think that introducing underwater to the game may have made Tri not as deep or not as big of a title as some of the previous entries and the entries that come after it, due to the difficulties that Capcom probably may have faced while putting in these underwater systems into the game, right? So an argument that I see is, I think, well, not me, but I've heard some people say, I think that bringing underwater back could be a detriment to the game because of how hard it's going to be to, you know, properly bring it back. They're going to have to make move sets for all the weapons again, right? And they're going to have to make a new underwater move set for Charge Blade, for Insect Glaive. It's just going to be a massive amount of work that could possibly detriment the rest of the game. And honestly, pretty good take. I do think that's possible. However, I want to say that Capcom in 2020 and beyond, let's not even just say 2023 and beyond, in 2020 and beyond is not the same Capcom of 2009. Capcom has been way more successful now than they were back then. I mean, Monster Hunter has grown exponentially with the release of World and Iceborne. I mean, the Resident Evil remakes are doing incredible, and Street Fighter 6 looks to be, you know, Capcom telling everybody like, hey, look, we learned from our mistakes, we're gonna make this better. We learned how not to release and make a Street Fighter game in Street Fighter 5, so they're gonna, you know, fix all their mistakes heading into Street Fighter 6. Their financials look way better, and I think they have the resources necessary, and also the technology is better now, right? They're not really gonna be quote unquote hamstrung by the Wii technology, right? Our consoles are more powerful. and what's possible is more powerful. And I think they have, you know, bigger budgets and bigger teams so that they can handle the monumental task that will undoubtedly be creating underwater combat, right? Now, just because the tech is better today and Capcom is better today, does that guarantee that underwater would be an excellent experience? No. But, you know, taking risks is something that Monster Hunter has always done. They're always changing up the formula a little bit. They're always trying something new. And hell, most recently, I mean, look at Rampages. Didn't work out. That had a lot of work poured into it too, I suppose. But I don't know. We responded negatively to it, and Capcom hears us out, and they say, all right. They take the player feedback, and they say, y'all didn't like this. Scrap the whole concept, despite the amount of work that it took. And Sunbreak is still a great game, even though Rampages didn't work out all that well. So even if Underwater does come back and it's not as great as I think it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be great because, you know, of the things I've said in this video already. But I think it'd be great if it came back, and I think Capcom has the ability to bring it back, do it justice, and make improvements and learn from their past, which is Monster Hunter Tri, and bring us a fresh new underwater experience that I think will be able to change the minds of many of you who are so against underwater combat. If you're still listening, thank you so much for being here and watching and listening to this video all the way through. Definitely hit the comment section down below. Tell me what you think about everything I talked about in this video. I'll respond to each and every comment that hits this video. And clearly I'm very passionate about Monster Hunter. So if you love Monster Hunter, why not click that subscribe button? It's free, and you'll get at least 2 uploads a week of monster hunting content. So yeah, definitely click that button for me. Subscribe on your way out. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Should Underwater return? Should it not return? What do you think of the things I brought up in today's video? You got new points to toss at me? Let's have a discussion in the comment section. Let's keep it civil and treat each other nice while we discuss our passion that is Monster Hunter. Thank you all for listening and watching, and happy hunting. Peace.